Hello, Sharif here, and welcome to this edition of the Chronicles of the Upheavals. We're taking sections of my book, The Chronicles of the Upheavals, and we're talking about them to get us introduced to the future, a new kind of future. Before I get launched into the book, one of the things that I found most challenging is as I'm writing the book, the future is catching up to me. The future, it's not looking like the future anymore. It's looking like the right now. And so I want to give you a couple of examples of that. In the book, there are several new old technologies that are introduced. One of them is what I call the bamboo train, which is an electric train made out of bamboo that rides on the regular train tracks because the regular railroads have gone defunct and the tracks aren't being used. So we, the people of our own future, are using them. Well, I thought that this was an interesting future invention, and then I just it's I can see it in my head, um, but I did a little playing around with AI, and I came up with some images that I thought were interesting. Um, One of them was this image, and in typical AI fashion, all of the people are look like they're having fun, but as soon as you look deeper, they're all mutated. Some of them have three or four arms. Some of them don't have enough arms. One person's got a couple of heads, but that's okay. Um, this is why I keep saying that artificial intelligence is not going to have the impacts that we think it's going to have. But I wouldn't do this thing in the front that make it look like an old-fashioned locomotive. Our trains just don't look like that anymore. I took another stab at it. Where's my other stab? Um, yeah, and this one was slightly better, more accurate to what I said in the book, I should say. Um, but then one of the thing that made things really interesting was that um, years after I wrote that, I came across a real life bamboo train, and so let me share my screen with you um, and see if we. The sound doesn't matter on this one. It's fairly well narrated. Um, but unfortunately, instead of using the electric engines that I am suggesting, this thing is running on gasoline powered engines. And it's basically for tourists. But as you can see, and I describe how to get this thing on and off the tracks in my book, and they followed it. Yay. So this is an interesting take on something that is in the book. One of the There's a lot of things in the book we really hope um, doesn't ever get copied into our reality. Um, the AI situation in the book is uh, we don't want to see that happening. Um, so I'm going to switch gears um, to um, to get back to Actually, I had one more thing that I wanted to share with you. Um, yeah, I took another stab at something that I describe a technology of the future that I describe in the book, and that is uh, moving water. One of the things that we're finding is true right now, with all the flooding that we've seen going on around the world, is that we've got too much water in one place and not enough water in another place. This notion of literally picking the water up and moving it to from the area that has too much water and to an area that doesn't have enough water, um, is a very short-term strategy. The idea, this is an artificial way of dealing with this situation, of creating a long-term cycle. So in the book, I describe having hydrogen powered uh, dirigibles, blimps, that literally pick up water, from where there's way too much, and take the water to where there's way too little. And guess what? Our future catches up with us again. And so um, it reminds me of something that Arthur C. Clarke said about the book. I think it was by Stanley Robinson, who wrote the Mars trilogy: Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars. Um, and Arthur C. Clarke said, "This isn't science fiction about Mars." He said, "This is a manual on how you get to Mars." Now, and of course, I read the book. Lots of people read the book, but people like Elon Musk didn't. He's going to get there his own way. And hey, maybe it'll be a one-way trip. I guess I should say, in Kim Stanley Robinson's book, the idea of getting to Mars was a one-way trip. Is that all of the logistics that you have to pack into a spaceship change when you have no intention of bringing the people back, and you get enough people to actually start creating a colony from the first place. So you said you blast 200 people up there with all the supplies that they need, and then say you're going to go for it because there isn't a return trip. I thought it was a very good book. I recommend it. But it's interesting when you can take one assumption and make all the dynamics change. And if the assumption is that you're not bringing people back right away, or maybe ever, all the parameters become different. So, looking at how we deal with those parameters are things that we need to be cognizant of. Okay, so let me move to another. This is going to get us into the actual part of the process where we're going to be going into the sight reading around the book Chronicles of the Upheavals. We're going to go into one of the principal chapters. This is where I'm introducing two characters to you. And one of them doesn't have a name yet. And it'll be explained to you as we get into this. And the other one is one of the leaders of the Awakening Center. and she is processing this young man who has just been brought into the Awakening Center. He doesn't know a ding dong thing what's going on. He is both afraid and entranced by what he sees. And I think that there'll be some uh, uh, interesting energy there. So again, this is a sight reading. This is not people acting. This is us reading from the book, and hopefully making it livelier for you than if you were reading it on your own. Okay, let's get into this. In the interview, the chapter introduces two of the principal characters of the book. A young street kid is recruited, some would say even kidnapped, into an awakening center and starts to learn a new way of interacting with the world. Each of these transcripts begins with an introduction from the Culture Council in the year 2125. I want to say a word about language. Some of the language of the new recruits is rough. In the book, as they expand their mindfulness, their language becomes less rough and more mindful.
How to achieve a level of diversity in each center. For the early pioneers, the metavision of a world for all had to mean more than a world for all who show up. For every person invited into a center, there were 10,000 who were turned away. Some argued that the centers should select people who were already awakened. Others argued that no one was awakened to the holonic mind. Some argued in favor of admission by ability to pay, restricting the centers to a certain class of people. Still others argued that diversity was important to the holonic mind, that the selection committees should be looking for wild cards. The methodologies used for collection were unique and challenging.
What's wrong with the name I got?
There's nothing wrong with it. The reason that all novices are required to change their names is that your old name will remind you of where you come from, while your new name will remind you of where you're going.
I don't like this. I heard you people do brainwashing in here. What's that? Does it hurt?
At any point in time, you can get up, turn around, and walk out that door. We'll even drive you back to where we picked you up. We'll give you back the clothes you came in. There's no one here to stop you or try to keep you here. So far, all we've done is feed you good food and give you a clean bed to sleep in. If you don't like that, leave now.
Hey, sorry. Don't get me wrong. The food is cool and sleeping in a real bed. Wow. I mean, bam, everybody's running. Then bam, some dude jumps me. Then bam, I'm out like a light. Then bam, I'm eating great food and sleeping in a real bed.
So, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah, okay. But my stomach kind of hurts.
Your stomach might hurt for a day or so. We put some medicine in your food that will cleanse you of some parasites.
What's a parasite?
something you Something that was growing in you that you don't want growing in your gut, like a bug.
I got bugs growing in me?
Not anymore. Now, I've got another 7 potential novices to interview today. Do you mind if I ask you some questions?
No, go ahead. Ask your questions. Just don't try to wash my brain.
I'll try not to. Now, how old are you?
Don't know. Maybe 11.
From your size, I'd guess closer to 9 or 10. Now, where were you born?
Don't know. Someplace called Ontario?
Do you know where your parents are? What happened to your parents?
Don't know. They just disappeared when everything went fucked and the lights went out.
When did this happen?
Hey, is this going to take a long time? You asking a bunch of questions and me saying don't know?
No, not too long. I know things were crazy for you. I don't expect you to have answers, but this sheet says I have to ask all the questions. Now, do you remember the last time you saw your parents?
Don't know. Maybe I was 5 or 6.
Who took care of you?
My sister did for a while, then she disappeared too.
Do you know what happened to her?
I think some guys got her. She was about 15. Got with the wrong guys while swapping.
What do you mean by swapping?
You know, swapping. Trading for food.
Trading what?
What the fuck's your problem, lady? You brain dead? You know, swapping.
I know these questions may bring up bad memories for you. It's hard for me to ask them. And I do know how it is out there. But you've got to answer the questions out loud so that the recorder can hear you.
You know, trading sex for food, okay? She was real pretty, so we ate okay. One night she didn't come back.
How long ago was that? A year? 2 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Have you ever killed anyone?
What happens if I say yes? You kick me out?
No, we don't kick you out. We know how hard it is to survive out there. We will, however, keep a close eye on you to make sure you don't do anything like that in here.
Well, I tried to. I hurt some guys real bad. They tried to jump me, but they didn't know I had a knife. A couple of them probably died. At least I hope so. They kept saying they were going to eat me.
Have you ever eaten human flesh?
Nah. I saw some people eating a lot of meat, way more than a dog. I knew where it came from. I know it's wrong, but I was so hungry I tried to get some, but they ran me off. I ate plenty of dogs and rats. Lots of rats.
Let's change the subject. What do you know about this place?
The only thing I heard is that they feed you good here and you have to work real hard and then you get brainwashed.
Well, 2 out of 3 of those statements are correct. The Denver Awakening Center is not a charity. You ate well and you slept well, and we expect you to pay for it. And if you intend to eat and sleep today, you have to pay for that too.
Hey, how? You know I don't have no money. You even gave me the clothes I'm wearing now. I have to pay for those too? I ain't no good for sex. Is this the part where you wash my brain?
Believe me, nobody wants you for sex, and nobody wants your stinky little brain either.
So, how I pay?
You pay through your work. You're required to work every day. In exchange, you get meals, a bed, and our protection.
What's the catch? Once I come in, I can't leave?
As I said before, you can leave whenever you want to. The door is right there. However, once you leave, you can't come back. This isn't a revolving door.
What's a revolving door?
Never mind. The work will be very hard, very demanding. We don't want you to just move your muscles. We want to exercise your brain and exercise your spirit too.
Exercise my brain. What's that mean? Is that the brainwashing?
You are really stuck on this brainwashing thing, aren't you? There is no brainwashing here. Exercising your brain means that all of the novices have to go to school.
School? I heard of that. My sister said that she went to school and learned things for a couple of years before they closed them down. She really liked school. That's how she taught me to read. I get to go to school?
Yes, you get to go to school.
How much I got to pay for that?
We pay you to go to school.
Are you shitting me?
You see any shit around here?
Hey, you're all right.
Going to school isn't all that you'll do. You have to spend time working in the fields, working to keep the buildings clean and generating our electricity. The better you work, the harder you work, the more you'll earn. And when you earn enough, you can trade for perks.
What's that?
Well, if you have enough credits in your account, you can trade for a better bed, better and different food, and other things, like your own room, maybe your own house.
Why are you people doing all this?
The people who started all this knew that our society was going to shit, as you would say. Rather than trying to stop it, their goal was to siphon off the best and the brightest people who could actually use their minds and their hearts instead of just watching television. Our job is to help guide humanity past these troubles, past the upheavals, into a new society. You will be one of the agents creating a new society.
I sure wish I knew what the fuck you're talking about. But as long as I get to eat and go to school, it can't be bad.
Great attitude. You may go far. Now, about that name, let's see. You think you're from the Ontario region. Your K class.
What's that mean, K class?
It means you didn't come here voluntarily. You were picked up in one of our suites.
You mean those guys that jumped me? If I had known where they were taking me here, I would have jumped into their net. You know, the word on the streets is that you people eat kids in here. That's why nobody wants to volunteer to come here. They say you eat them because nobody is ever seen again. That's why we run when we see the jump trucks.
Well, do you want to leave here and tell them the truth, knowing that you can't come back?
Fuck no. I don't give a fuck what they believe. If everything turns out the way you say, those guys jumping me is the best thing ever.
You know, you'll find we really don't like cursing around here. You're expected to be mindful of what you say and how you say it. Okay. From Ontario, K class and zero criteria.
What's that mean, zero criteria?
It simply means that you have zero presenting issues. You're not sick. You don't have communicable diseases. You're not significantly mentally disturbed. You're not physically impaired. You don't have a negative attitude or a history of acute violence. You don't appear traumatized. In a world where normal doesn't mean anything anymore, you're pretty close to normal.
Okay, I guess.
So, let me finish. Ontario, K0. I think we will call you Unco. Now, you'll be in a dormitory with the other boys.
Hey, hold on, lady. I ain't no boy. I've seen more shit than you could ever dream of. I'm a man. And if those fuckers in that dormitory try to punk me, they're going to find out the hard way.
I think you'll find here that it takes more than seeing shit to make you a man. Everyone has seen shit. We have special dormitories for young people who have been so traumatized from seeing shit that they may never be able to rejoin human society. We're not sure we can ever let them out again. But if being a man is so important to you, that's what we'll call you. You'll be called Novice Man Uncle. Now, if you don't mind, Novice 24 is waiting for her interview.
No problem. Sorry I went off on you.
Oh, one last thing. We know that you're carrying a knife.
Hey, wait a minute.
Please, don't bother trying to deny it. We know it's made of metal, about 5 inches long, and taped to your inner thigh.
How the fuck?
Stop. Try to listen without making your mouth move. Around here, just assume that we know everything. Now, we will let you hold on to your knife for 3 days. That will give you enough time to see that there's no reason to have a knife around here. Within 3 days, I expect you to bring that knife to me. If you don't, both you and your knife will be sent outside.
Okay.
I'm not asking for your okay. This will happen, whether you agree or not. Now, you may leave.
One thing. If I decide to split, I get my knife back?
If you return outside, it will be with all your belongings, including your clothes.
Okay. You're just holding it, see?
You're surprising. I think you might go far. Just wait while I write you a receipt.
What's that?
Oh, never mind. Just more paperwork. You really have potential. Now, please report to your dormitory.
That's the place with all the beds? Cool.
Okay. So so we get introduced to two of the principal characters of the book. Actually, both books, this one and the sequel, Chronicles of the Awakening. And we follow them through a process where young man Unko starts off as a very rough novice, and through his interactions with the other novices and his interactions with the other staff of the Awakening Center, begins to understand what it means to live in a society, something that most of us have forgotten. What does it mean for us to live in such a way that we are living for each other? We're not living to make more money. We're not living to make a killing. We're not living to watch television or scroll on Facebook. We have a whole new way of looking at how we interact with the world and interact with our lives. Obviously, this is something that many of us need right now. When you think about the number of people who spend their productive time doing destructive things, when you think about people who spend their time on Facebook or on Instagram or any of the other social media telling lies, saying things that are not true, putting up images that are simply not true. One caveat: it's okay to create new images. It's okay. I think it's okay to use AI to create some new image. The thing that's not okay is pretending that it's yours. The thing that's not okay is deceiving someone as to the source of the text or the message or the image. And it's not okay to hurt someone on purpose or even inadvertently by the work the things that you do. The people who are acting in our society right now don't care whether or not they hurt someone. They don't care whether or not they are upholding someone or not. Okay. When I was practicing law, I had a case. Someone came into the legal services office, and the landlord was trying to evict her, and got me as a lawyer. And when I was practicing law, I was a really good lawyer, so the landlord was not able to evict her. The landlord was saying that she trashed his apartment. Well, she trashed the apartment. I mean, it wound up costing him thousands of dollars to repair the damage from her actions. And when I think about landlords, I think about these, kind of greasy, slimy guys who, smoking cigars and not caring anything about the property, etc. And this guy was exactly the opposite. He was very thoughtful, very caring. He worked a hard job. He worked in the post office, had saved enough money to buy a piece of property, and he wanted to provide this as a way of helping his community. And he gets someone like my client, and then has to tangle with somebody like me, who winds up costing him thousands and thousands of dollars, and that money had to come from somewhere. So I did the right thing. I mean, my job at the time was, as a lawyer, was to zealously represent my client, and I did, and she won, but the entire community lost, including her, including me. The whole thing was a very bad feeling situation. So our challenge is, how can we move from lose, lose, lose to win, win, win? How can we create a situation where one side wins, the other side wins, and the community as a whole wins? We have to move from making things less bad, which gets you nothing, to making situations where everyone can win. Everyone can go thumbs up. As I think I said before, this is a recording. If you have comments, you can still leave the comments on the recording, I think. And if you can't, you can always comment to me at mail@commonway.org. We can have more conversations about this particular entry, the entry interview, or anything else that comes out that stems from the book and stems from our future. And next time, hopefully live, I will talk to you about another aspect of our of this journey through the Chronicles of the Upheavals, and perhaps next month the companion book, the Chronicles of the Awakening. Until that time, may all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. Thank you, and I will talk to you later.